How many times have you told yourself, I'll deal with it later? Whether it's a health issue, a tough conversation, or maybe something even that could change your life, deep down you know waiting only makes it worse. I just got home from having dental surgery. I'm still numb. I had been putting it off for months, maybe even a year, and the problem didn't go away. In fact, it got worse. It cost me additional bone loss and additional money. In this video, I'm sharing 5 things that we put off because we're scared. We have the fear of failure, of judgment, of pain. I'm starting with the one that's freshest on my mind, or maybe I should say my mouth, and that is health. Yes, I'm talking while I'm still numb from this dental surgery, so if I start drooling, you'll know that I am truly committed to this message for you. Seriously though, we've probably all put off health issues, and the longer we put them off, the bigger the consequences, the bigger the cost. Not to get too detailed with you, and look away for a minute if you have a queasy stomach. I'll tell you when you can look again. I just had pig tissue attached to my gums in the front to thicken and enhance the overall health of my own gums. Okay, you can look again. As you can imagine, I was not looking forward to this. I am no stranger to dental pain. I'm a retired dental hygienist. I had braces in my 40s, the first time ever in my life, and the full metal set. Plus I had surgery right after that in my 40s to lengthen my lower jaw 6 millimeters. They cut into the lower jaw and move it forward. I came out of that surgery looking like Bubba Gump. I am not a fan of all the injections. I've never been a fan of needles. So I put this procedure off for over a year. The financial cost was a factor, but by putting it off, I actually cost myself more money. And the issue was never going to resolve itself. It was never going to get better on its own. The longer I waited, I was risking more bone loss, and I'm not someone who wants to start losing teeth in midlife or ever in my life. But the fear of the pain and the inconvenience, I can only eat soft foods for the next 6 weeks. That kept me from doing this months ago. In fact, I rescheduled the surgery once because I didn't want to face it. And sometimes we get in denial that these things will resolve themselves. So waiting ends up just having more costs. When we delay dealing with health issues, they're only going to get worse. They never get better. Whether it's a dental procedure, a doctor's appointment, or mental health care, waiting can mean bigger problems later on down the road. Also, when we wait like this, we hold on to this mental energy, this stagnant energy, knowing that we're waiting, that we're putting something off, and it costs us in our mental and emotional state as well. Are you putting off some health thing that you're fearing? You're fearing the pain, you're fearing the inconvenience, or you're just in denial about it? Are you afraid of conflict? And so you will avoid conversations with people because you don't want to deal with the conflict. Having difficult conversations is never fun, but not having them just prolongs the inevitable. And it actually is very harmful to the person that you need to have the conversation with and to your relationship. I was the queen of second chances. I would not bring things up, something that was promised to me, something that was committed and then wasn't done. I didn't bring it up the first time. And so then when it happened the second time, I told myself this story that, well, I can't bring it up now because I didn't bring it up the first time. And I got in this vicious cycle of always putting off these difficult conversations. And then when they did happen, they tended to come from a very resentful and explosive state, which is never beneficial for either party. The other person, when they feel that they're being attacked, is going to go on the defensive, and you cannot repair something or have a genuine conversation where you will feel heard if the other person is already in defense mode. Is it difficult for you to have hard conversations? And what is it costing you in your relationships? Have you ever delayed a personal or career move because you were afraid of judgment or failure Or will my insurance come from if I go out on my own? Or maybe you thought you didn't know enough yet to go into this new area that you wanted to explore. This was me. I worked for a company for 7 years. It was like family there, but there was a part of me that wanted to go into what I'm doing now, and that's coaching and helping other people be the best version of themselves and have the best life ever. But fear of going out on my own, striking it on my own, where would I get insurance? How would I handle my finances? All of those things kept me from taking that step. And then what happened? I got fired from my job. So I was instantly propelled into this new place, which it was a gift. It was one of the best gifts ever for me to get let go, because it made me take action. I probably would have stayed in that job 7 more years until I was 65 and retired. And then I told myself, then I would start my coaching business and I would just dabble in it until that time. Fear of failure or judgment can hold us back from doing these things that actually could transform our lives. Is fear holding you back from doing something like this? Starting something that you would love to do, but you're afraid to do it? And how could taking one step now start that change, start that ball rolling to allow you to start creating what it is you want to create in your life? The fourth thing that we do, and I'm guilty of it, we put off prioritizing ourselves because we're afraid of being rude or selfish. We put off setting boundaries or practicing self-care because we're afraid of being judged. Maybe we're worried about how others will perceive us. And so we put off doing these things for ourselves and putting ourselves first. I put off taking care of myself and speaking up, setting boundaries with my ex-husband because I was afraid of retaliation from him. I had allowed him to convince me that doing things for myself or by myself were selfish, like going to yoga, for instance. And so I stopped doing those things. I put off doing those things. And I don't know what I was waiting for because I was married to him. So when was I ever going to start feeling comfortable going back to yoga again? I had allowed him to convince me that I was being selfish by taking care of myself, by doing things for myself or by myself. And so I stopped doing the things that I loved and that I needed for my own well-being, like yoga. I basically gave it up because I didn't want him to continue to perceive me as a selfish person. And the impact on my well-being was, after our relationship ended volatilely, I ended up in the ER. Not setting boundaries or practicing self-care because you're worried about how others will perceive you will only lead down a bad road, a road of resentment, burnout, or maybe like me, ending up in the ER because I was so stressed I couldn't function. And yoga was one of the ways that I was able to cope with stress. So giving up one of the things that allowed me to stay healthy and manage situations in a healthy way, giving up that thing was one of the things that landed me in the ER. Do you have something that you have been putting off as far as self-care and taking care of your own mental well-being? And that leads me to the final thing. And that is, are you putting off tough decisions that you need to make in a relationship that you have? We often avoid relationship decisions out of fear, the fear of being alone, of being judged, or of causing pain to another person. But us not facing those decisions only make them harder and make the relationship less stable. Staying in an unhealthy relationship or refusing to seek help only prolongs your suffering. One of the fears that kept me from ending that third marriage earlier was the fear of being judged about being married and divorced 3 times. So that kept me in what ended up being a very toxic relationship where I had fear of physical harm at the end of the relationship. That is not worth it. It's not worth putting off these decisions because of the fear of being alone or of being judged or whatever the fear is that is keeping us from doing it. So what are you avoiding? Are you putting off a health issue, a tough conversation, or maybe even ending a relationship because you're afraid? Remember, take it from me and my mouth. Waiting doesn't make the problem go away. It only makes it harder to actually face. So do it scared. Do it uncomfortable. Just do it. Take that first step. The longer you wait, the bigger the price you pay. Ask yourself, what is it costing me to stay stuck in this place? And take that first step today, because your best life is on the other side of that one step. Phew, I think I made it without drilling too much.